Hey, and welcome back to the Backfield Committee podcast. Sam is being a dad today, so I'm joined just with Alex, and we're gonna take on some of the third year wide receivers. This is a pretty often touched on topic. This is the breakout year, so we're gonna look at some guys. We're gonna say breakout or bust. We're also going to give you a little bit of some dynasty context. I know that a lot of people do dynasties. We haven't spoken so much about it. So with the kind of focus on what their dynasty is value going into the season. So right off the bat, we're going to start with Ladd. Ladd had a really great rookie year. Last year, we all know he dropped off a lot. My take on Ladd is I just don't know how much eating there is in that offense. They want to run a lot. They're going to keep running. They have Harris. They have Johnson, they have Gadsden, they have too many mouths to feed in a low volume offense. And I just don't think he's going to get the volume to be great. I don't even think Ladd is significantly better or worse. I think just he's not going to be able to sustain any kind of solid wide receiver consistency. So for me, I'm going to say he's cooked. I would give him, I was saying I'd take if I can get a late first rounder in a dynasty farm, I'd take it in a second. I wouldn't take a second. I would just ride it. But Ladd's not my favorite right now.
All right. Definitely took a step back last year. I personally feel I'm going to disagree. I feel like he may have a little bit of a bounce back. I think Keenan Allen definitely hurt his target share. The whole offensive line was destroyed. Herbert had no time to throw the ball. He just looked like a little bit of a disaster. I think you could make some excuses for his production. It's not great to see. He had his targets per round pretty high. They were elite last year, and they really fell down to earth this year. Like I said, we can make some excuses with the offensive line, Keenan Allen. I think ultimately, if Keenan Allen's gone, they definitely, their whole line right now is healthy. I love the fact that McDaniels is there for him. So if they get rid of Allen with McDaniels, the O-line, I really think he could have a bounce back year. So I'll probably, buy back on him. I think I agree with you in terms of dynasty value. I wouldn't take a first round pick this year, but a 2027 I would definitely take for him. I just don't think he'll ever be like an elite type of guy, but he'll be a solid top high end wide receiver too. Yeah. All right. Next we got BTJ. All right. So, this is a very controversial player. He had a monster year, his rookie year. Everybody thought he was just going to be an elite dude like Chase Jefferson type of level, but really had a disappointing year. I don't know. Right now, I'm leaning towards the cooked option. It's just, when he had his breakout, had nobody else there. Everybody was hurt. He was the go-to option with no competition. Then the fact that, you brought in some decent competition and the guy completely fell off. Just didn't look, I don't know if he wasn't healthy or just didn't look comfortable. Overall, I don't know. I'm not buying into his bounce back. There's still a very crowded room. Who the hell knows? The only good news right now is that the Hunter news came out and it looks like he'd be a full-time, DB. So that may buy him some bounce back, appeal, but nah, I still think he's cooked for now.
Yeah, I think I agree. He just looks like him and Lawrence can't play together. Also, he had a lot of alligator arms. He looks like he maybe doesn't like getting hit. There's a lot of scary stuff about him that I'm not in love with. I agree. The Hunter thing is the best outlook for him. But if he's not going to catch it, the targets or whatever, it's not going to be that important even. I saw just now before we started that they were looking to there's talk of him being traded. So maybe that's what he needs. If he goes to somewhere where he gets a fresh start, that they're going to maybe better rapport or whatever, I'll change him in terms of value. But I saw even the Bills, which would be interesting, interesting kind of place. But for right now, yeah, I think if he starts the season on Jacksonville, to me, he's totally cooked. He's tough because dynasty wise, he showed he looked like a superstar elite wide receiver one as a rookie. Yeah. And then was such trash last year. So it's hard to trade him for anything because no one's going to give you any value. Right. And so would I take a second rounder for him? No, because it's not worth it. But is anyone going to pay more than that? Probably equally no. Right. So he's a tough guy for me. I'm going to say cooked. And I would say if you could somehow get a manager to pay you a first rounder of any year or any year at any spot in the draft, I would take it in a second and run away with it. Again, that would be a tall ask, but that sounds right to me. Just because off the strength of where was he going into? Was he a top 10 dynasty receiver before last season?
Yeah,
would you say?
absolutely.
Close? Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's a lot of value to dump off 1 year. So maybe we're kind of selling him short. Just I would say cooked as of right now, not on the Jags. So Next up, we have Rome. Rome, I think, is another guy. He missed like 5 or 6 games last year. He looks good when he plays. It looks like he's a pretty solid receiver. I'm worried about the target share. Is it going to be like a spread? Caleb likes to move the ball all over the place. Rome is another guy, like I forget who we were talking about, but he doesn't catch a lot of his targets for whatever reason. It's maybe route tree or something, but he's catching like not even 50% of targets, which is like very low. So I guess if you think that that's going to normalize, he's a guy who you could buy. If that's just he's always going to be that guy, then I'm less excited about it. I'm going to say for Rome, though, I'm going to say he's going to bounce back. I'll buy Rome. I think he's got the talent. The quarterback has the talent. It's a good system. There's a lot of like ups for him. So I'm going to say Rome. I'm going to put a flag on that in a dynasty after this season. He's going to be like a solidified wide receiver one. If he has a huge breakout, like I wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah, man. I think me and you're on the same page. Like I said, I think that if you just take a deeper dive into, Rome the past 2 years with Caleb, I think they both had some growing pains. I think his off-target rate was also fairly high. I mean, he definitely
Mhm.
suffered with some drops, this season. But actually, that goes with all the Bears, receivers. If they, I took a look at some of the stats, and it looked like him and Burden had pretty high drop rates, and I don't.
Yeah.
These guys, if you take a look at their collegiate careers, they rarely had any drops. So I don't know what it is. Could be the Chicago weather. It could be the fact that Caleb is a little erratic at times. Is not the most
Yeah.
accurate passer. He likes to kind of improvise a lot. I don't know. I think I like Rome. Like you can see what he did his first half of the season. I mean, sometimes the yards weren't there, but again, like it's got to be like a chemistry thing, with the whole team. Yeah, the only one thing that no doubt in the talent. The guy shows up. I mean, like he's had monster games. You could tell like he's an elite talent when he's playing. It's a
Hmm.
crowded room. Burden's coming up. You got Loveland. You're right. I don't know how the targets will be distributed. I think ultimately, when you look at the numbers, I mean, they took away Zacchaeus. They took away DJ Moore. I think honestly, him and Burden could have like 110, 120 target share each with Burden. I mean, with
Hmm.
Loveland taking the rest. And I think they could all have solid numbers. I think they will eat off each other in terms of blow weeks. Because they're
Yeah.
all super talented guys. But I'm definitely a bounce back candidate. I think that he finished off the year pretty poorly just because he was hurt, came back from injury. All of them weren't kind of great at that point when they were all on the field except for Loveland, I guess, towards the end of the that run they had. I'm definitely buying in
Yeah.
on him. I think he's talented. Maybe stuck in a crowded receiving room for a couple more years, but he'll have a chance to get out, leave the Bears at some point, and show off that he could be like a wide receiver one if he's truly goes to a spot where he's just alone. But still, I think he'll be productive enough to, keep wide receiver two numbers for you this year.
Yeah. Would you in a dynasty, like in terms of the younger guys, what about Lad versus Rome? Rome all the way, value wise.
Yeah, I think I'll take Rome just because of I think he's got a much higher upside. I think,
Hmm.
honestly, I think that what Lad did his rookie year, I don't think he's going to beat that. I don't think he'll beat like 1,100, 1,200 yards and like 7 touchdowns. I just don't see
Yeah, me
him,
neither.
that elite. I think Rome has a chance to like that be his floor, 1,100 yards and like 5, 6 touchdowns, but his ceiling
Yeah.
is like, elite level ceiling.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. I think anecdotally, like what you were saying, also just watching Caleb Williams, it looks like his touch isn't that great sometimes. He kind of just like wings it. Like
Yeah.
so, I think some of these passes are really hard. He just seems like one of these guys that sometimes throws the ball way too hard, and that like it
Yeah.
maybe is kind of affecting a lot of this. Roman College was a timing guy, so maybe we're saying
Yeah.
works that out, like they figured out, and then like he kind of makes that jump.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had that one bad drop. I remember he had to drop the TD, but I mean, stuff happens. I
Yeah,
mean, you can't expect these guys to like
yeah, that-
catch everything. You know what I mean? So, I mean, Caleb's got an arm on him, man. He's like a Brett Favre, right? He like, throws the ball like 65,
yeah.
70 miles per
Swings
hour.
it.
He's gonna break
Yeah,
fingers in Chicago. But I like Rome, man. You can't like the dude is a talented guy. It's not like he's like a complete bust, right? He showed it both years. His rookie year wasn't that
yeah,
great, but he showed flashes. Started out strong last year, fell up because of injury.
yeah.
You got to see the
Right.
talent. All right, who we got next? Marvin Harrison Jr. Ooh, this guy's interesting. Let's see. I don't want to. It's tough, man. I want to say he'll bounce back. He had a decent rookie year. When you take a look at his numbers, he definitely, took a monster hit last year. I don't know if it was just injuries, drops, Brissett liking Michael Wilson Jr.
Hmm. Yeah, blew up.
Yeah, he blew up. So like right now it's a little murky situation. Looks like they have like a few really good pass catchers, right? You got McBride there. Wilson showed he could be a 1,000-yard receiver and just a monster if he gets the targets. Where does that leave Marvin Harrison Jr.? He's still talented enough. I don't think he's going to be that elite dude that we all thought he was going to be, and the NFL thought he was going to
Yeah,
be when he came out. I don't think
sure.
he's going to be that. I think he'll be serviceable. He's obviously the guy could catch the ball. He could run routes. Physical dude. I just don't see the upside in that elite level with him. So I do think he bounces back from like a 600-yard season because of injuries.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So can he get to a
Uh-huh.
thousand yards? Yeah, I think he could get to 1,000 yards. I'll buy him as a bounce back just because he had a really poor year last year. But if somebody's
Yeah.
expecting him to be like that elite dude, I don't. Dynasty value wise, I'll grab a first rounder for him as well. If somebody's offering that to me, although again, not this year. I don't like the outside of the top 5, 6 guys. I just don't see the
Mhm.
value. I'd rather take a chance on, Marvin's pedigree and his name just alone. He's still, going to
Fair.
get fed some targets, but yeah, I think he's a bounce back.
So you wouldn't take, let's say in a dynasty, you wouldn't take pick 10 for Harrison. You hold him.
No,
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I would say for me, I agree with most of what you say. I think like a few things about Harrison are I don't think he's another guy that has a complete route tree. Looks like everything is kind of just like down the sidelines. I don't know if he's also one guy who doesn't want to get hit. He's not making contested catches. Like there has to be something up with that. Or Brissett can't make those throws, and Wilson, a guy who's going over the middle, is more McBride. These guys are more like what he's doing. It could be that also. It's also crazy. This guy, like people were dumping franchises for him, right?
right.
Into especially into PPR, right? This is like the most surefire one overall, like in the last, like for a receiver for sure in a long time. So for him to like start, I'm sure it's like broken a lot of people's like dynasty teams to like
Sure.
have to, this guy's your building block. So I
Yeah.
would say for me, I'm with you. He's not going to be worse because it's impossible. He's going to have more than 600 yards. So I'll say I kind of like him in a bounce back spot if the value's there. In a dynasty, I'll buy him if I could steal him like for like what we're talking about. If I could trade pick 12 or something
Yeah.
for him, I maybe gamble, right? Like if I have him, I probably would have to hold him for that too. I think the danger with him though is that if he stinks this year, he's gonna have like no value next year, right?
Right.
Like you're gonna be just completely stuck. I think we could argue some of these other guys have shown enough that we trust them, but like if Harrison has 600 years again, nobody's gonna trust him for anything. Right? It's like he's gonna be worth nothing. So there is like some danger.
Let me ask you, you think that because like prior to like the last few years, yeah, I feel like we've been spoiled because like, most wide receivers, everybody's just been used to like year 3 breakouts, right?
Yeah, blow
You
up.
know, we,
Yeah.
yeah, we got spoiled by like, Chase and Jefferson, right? Guys like
Uh-huh.
that who just like start strong, continue strong, just don't look back, right? I think
Yeah.
like are we being too hard on these dudes? Because like, they
Maybe.
have they may have the ups and downs the first couple of years, but this is the year that you want to bet on the talent, bet on the fact they've had 2 years, now, with the same team, sometimes with the same coordinator, but with definitely with the same quarterback. I feel like maybe you could even probably convince me that all these dudes are probably just buy lows, right? Because like I said, they're all talented. This is their 3rd year. I think we got spoiled.
Yeah.
We're just being too harsh on them. But right? Yeah, yeah. You have to
Yeah,
you have
that's
to put that
actually
in the back of your
interesting.
mind. You got to put that in the back
For
of your
sure.
mind.
And what is that a good draft? Is that a good dynasty strategy then? Let's say you're a struggling team with a lot of picks. You want to just try to like fish a lot of these guys, right? It's kind of an
Yeah,
interesting way. Go buy Lad, buy BTJ, buy Rome, like buy whatever you can with these late firsts and then hope you hit like a jackpot on one of them.
yeah,
Like you're saying
exactly.
the odds are you probably will. Like if you're buying the pedigree, like
Sure. Yeah.
Harrison was anointed for sure as like this, he's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, there was a lot of hype, like equal to any of these other guys. So that's
Right.
a
I
that's
mean,
an
right.
interesting call. Maybe that's a cool strategy.
I was just saying you can't call a dude a bust, a receiver a bust in the first 2 years. It's just like I said,
No.
they're known to break out their 3rd year, right? I mean, just look at Nico
Yeah,
Collins, right? Like it's just tough.
sure.
I would definitely, like I said, I think from a, from just a um conversation perspective, just to play devil's advocate, I think we could all, argue these points and say they're bust. But in reality, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking all these dudes, they're
Yeah,
showing
sure.
flashes. I think that they could all break out 30 and just be all monsters.
Yeah, that's what maybe so we'll put that in the bank as a strategy and we'll see how it plays out at the end.
Sure.
We'll check out how these guys went. I think though, like with that same idea, like for all these guys, if they stink this year, it makes it harder to start caring about them, right? Like if
Absolutely.
top
Absolutely.
if BTJ sucks again this year, like I maybe not he's going off like he's just gonna be another guy. And I think a lot of these guys will end up in that same like there's plenty of washout first rounders and they'll just go in that bag.
But yeah,
This is the year. Prove it year.
absolutely.
All right. So next up is Neighbors. We're both Giants fans, so Neighbors is dear to both of us.
Yes.
Uh, amazing rookie year on a horrible team. Then last year, injured right off the jump, ended up kind of like a completely lost season. Everyone's excited about Dart. Their offense looks like it should be much better. Like they need that. For me, the problem with the Giants is they brought Lively in, which is great. They don't really have a second receiver that's any value. So it's like a lot of pressure on Neighbors. I think they want to run the ball. They should want to run the ball. But like I think Neighbors has the talent to succeed as that alpha. I'm scared about the turf. So as a kind of super elite guy, the injury stuff would scare me just because it's the Giants and like the field sucks. But do I buy him as like an up and coming superstar? I'm going to say right now, yes. Like, Neighbors to me is he's a franchise level receiver for dynasty. He could be the guy you build your team on. If he has some like monster insane season with Dart and they become this kind of like new tandem of stars, like nobody's going to be surprised. So I'll take Neighbors all day with the caveat that the price is going to be very high. And if I could get a guy that I have less injury concerns about, I'm going to be like, that would be the difference for me. But like in terms of just talent, Neighbors is the guy. So I'm gonna buy him. I'm gonna just go on a limb and say after the season in a dynasty, he's like a top, let's say like maybe top 3 guy. And I'll take him with like your Jeffersons and Chases if he shows me that this year. Right now, not there obviously, but like he's close.
Yeah, I'm with you with the Neighbors. Definitely, obviously, being as a Giant fan, I want to see him succeed. Last year, yeah, when he got a awful injury, he never really played with Dart, right? I think that was like the game he got hurt was like
Yeah.
right at the beginning of the game. That was like Dart's first game, so really hard to see and judge their chemistry. I think the first, his rookie year was great. He was force fed like a hell of a lot of targets, right? Like 160
Uh-huh.
targets or something ridiculous. Which I don't think is wise to repeat for him. I mean, he only had like 1,200 yards and that many targets. It's not like amazing, but for a rookie, that's great. But I'm with you. There's some injury risk. Obviously, we don't know if he's going to be healthy to begin the season. It sounds like there's a chance that he may be on the PUP list, miss the first 4 games. So there's definitely a possibility for that. They're definitely more unlikely, but I don't think that's really going to be competition for Neighbors. If
Mhm.
anything, I think it's going to actually drive some of his efficiency up. If you have some, really good underneath target, obviously he's an
Yeah, it
explosive
makes sense.
dude, right? I think it's really great that they got rid of Wandell. That definitely gives him like another 140 targets available to
Yeah,
distribute.
target stuff.
Yeah. So I'm with you on Neighbors. I definitely want to see him succeed. I think he'll obviously he'll have a bounce back season, get play like 3.5 games. And I'm buying him, and I agree with you. I don't know if I'm still gonna take him in the Chase, Jefferson, JSN, even like St. Brown type, but I think after those guys, I think he's there, just because I mean, first of all, I think St. Brown gets disrespected completely. Everybody just always takes him as like the top 5 or 6 best guy. I mean, you could make a case that he's the most consistent from game to game to game. He just doesn't, maybe he won't blow up, but he won't ever disappoint you. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I take him probably after those guys. But yeah, I think out of all these dudes that we're going to talk about today, I know all the guys that we spoke about so far, I like Neighbors the most, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
same.
so, as like a dynasty hold, as overall talent, even like you said, like, I know that Marvin Harrison was supposed to be annoyed doing this, is like best generational talent, but there's a lot of guys
Mhm.
saying that Neighbors should go ahead of him and be more talented,
Yeah.
as an overall prospect. So, we'll see. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Really hope for the Giants' sake, man. Neighbors turns out to be a
Sure.
monster. All right, next we got some interesting guys. Let's see. We're gonna talk about Ricky Pearsall. Was in the same class. I was also a first round. I think he was like a late first round pick of the 49ers. He's definitely showing some flashes that he could produce, but also showing flashes that he can't stay healthy at all. Yeah,
Mhm.
I know he was like shot to begin the season, but it looks like he got a lot of soft tissue injuries. The
Mhm.
substation, those injuries that's probably not going to help him heal anything. He's in a good spot right now. I feel like, he's going to come in healthy. He's got very limited options right now for targets. Yeah, I mean, I know Evans is there, but they're different type of players at this point in their careers. Ayuk, I don't know what the hell's going on with that. Juwan Jennings is not coming back. Kittle is hurt to start
Mhm.
the season. They want to take a load off a little bit of CMC. I like Pearsall as a sneaky option here. I know he's going to be going late in redrafts, which I think he'll great value. I would buy him in a dynasty right now. I would definitely take a risk on him. I mean, like, there's not really much to lose. I don't think anybody's going to be asking for a first round pick for him. If somebody's asking for a second on 2 seconds, I will even take 2 seconds for him. I'll take a risk. Like I said, talent is there. If he stays healthy, I just like his position right now to coming into the year. If they draft somebody or they trade for somebody else, if Kittle's healthy to begin the season, fight Ayuk, he's probably like him less. But at this point of the year, right now, he just looks like a possible like the number one target. I don't really consider Evans a number one at this point in his career. So I like
Sure.
Pearsall as a bounce back.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I'm with you. I'm buying him for sure in a dynasty. Also, for sure, I remember him in college. He'd make one great catch and then miss 3 games. It's just I don't think he could stay on the field. So I think he's a guy that if he's healthy, you use him, you could expect a lot. All those things you said. There's volume available. They throw a lot. It's a good offense. Like there's room for him to really be great. I can't see this guy playing more than like 12 games or something. It just seems like it's impossible. Maybe he has one season where he puts it together, but I would still buy him for the prices you're talking about. I actually was asking about him in a PPR and someone wanted first for him. So like I think that a second I'll pay. A first I'm scared just because of the injury history. If you took that aside, even the shock stuff, like you say, he's just hurt all the time. So I am worried about that. He's an interesting talent. So I'm going to say right now his value is in that like fringe first, second round for a trade. I think if you could buy him for you're saying a second or 2 seconds and you need a receiver, that's a good buy. I think in a PPR, even like tune him up a little bit more. Like we could be, he's one of those dudes like in a dynasty PPR, he can end up being a top 10 receiver somehow. Like I wouldn't be that surprised if he stays healthy. But similarly, if he plays 2 games, I wouldn't be that like surprised either. So I'll buy him this season with the caveat that he stays healthy. I'll also like for value, I'll buy him just because I think he's probably underlooked at like this minute. But if camp starts hyping and all that stuff, he's going to be like a early riser, I think. So it's an
Yeah.
interesting guy.
Would you
So our
take
last,
the one? Let me answer your question. Would you take the 110 this year or Ricky Pearsall?
I'll take the pick.
You'll take the pick.
And in
Yeah.
both, in a PPR or a standard, I think 110, you could get a good like rookie receiver, like a high, probably like a one of maybe the third best guy. I haven't like scouted the draft so much, but I think you could get a guy with equal upside and less injury problems. So I would take the pick and try to roll it. Unless I was desperate, like at receiver and I didn't have anyone, but like in a PPR 3 receiver or something, like I'd take the pick. In a standard, I take it in a second. I don't trust him to hold up in like a 2 receiver dynasty standard. Like he's not going to be that good that I can't replace him.
Sure.
So for me, like meh.
Yeah.
But
I could
he
look.
has talent. Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you that in like nobody ever discusses standard leagues, but like receivers
Yeah.
aren't
Right.
as valuable, and I think I
Yeah.
would definitely would take the 110 over Ricky just because I would
Uh-huh.
try to take a shot on RB at that point with the 110,
Yeah. Sure.
landing spot. But in the PPR though, like honestly, like I know we really haven't discussed this, and maybe we'll discuss it on a later podcast with regards to the rookies.
Uh-huh.
But there are 3 to 4 solidified receivers right now that everybody's kind of looking at as, regardless of landing spot, they should be drafted pretty high, and then the rest are kind of pretty questionable. So I would still take Ricky in the 110. Based on my evaluation so far, we'll see what happens after the draft. But yeah, interesting dude, very interesting dude. I would swing for the,
Yeah.
I would take a swing at her.
That's a good one. All right. Last and probably least,
Yeah,
last and least is Xavier Worthy. So another guy like hurt all the time, weak, got knocked out by Kelsey.
yeah,
Mahomes is injured in the beginning of the season. Rice is okay. I think for him, for me, I'm going to put him in the nobody Cook category. I don't think the volume will be there. I don't trust him to do anything when there is volume. I think he's going to be best as like another one of those long line of Chiefs fast guys that didn't work out, that'll be like washed out of the league, like with what's Young Joka style or any of these other scrubs, Sky Moore.
Sky
Like,
Moore.
they
Yeah,
took all these like, yeah, just these like fast nobodies. Like he looks like he has more talent than that, but I don't trust him to stay on the field. I don't trust him he wasn't even that good when he was healthy last year. He kind of just looks like, to me, he's close to being a nobody. He's another guy that like drafted pretty high in a lot of dynasties.
yes,
Like looked like he coming into last season, everyone was super hype on him, right? Rice was out. It looked like this was going to be his year. Gets knocked out in the first game, and it's kind of like downward from there. So I'm gonna sell Worthy. I think if I have him in a dynasty, it's another guy that's like, I think for him, I would take a second, to be honest. At this point, I don't think his value will hold up. And I'll take a high second for him. I'm taking it. PPR or standard for sure. If I could get more than that, I'm going to take it in a second as well. And Worthy's not a guy I would buy like in any format. Like to me, he's kind of a guy I have no interest in. Like if we're talking just between him and we just talking about Pearsall, like I'll take Pearsall every
yeah,
time over Worthy.
absolutely. Yeah, man, it saddens me to say because I took him pretty high in my PPR dynasty draft a couple of years ago. I actually took him ahead of BTJ. I mean, a lot of people probably
Hmm.
did. Nobody really thought BTJ was going to come out flying like that. which was like, people
Yeah.
were making fun of me last year, but this year it looks like they both could be just completely worthless.
Yeah. Right. Two nobody.
Right. Yeah, but I agree with you, man. He looks super weak, man. He just looks like this like little skinny, like toothpick running
Yeah.
around there. Just gets like literally just like even on that, it's like funny. Like you compare him and like JMO, right? Like kind of both similar builds in a sense, like both kind of skinny,
Mhm.
tall guys that run fast. But even like JMO like doesn't like fall down when somebody that touches him with a pinky, right? He still like breaks some
Yeah. For
tackles.
sure.
Like, he just Worthy, man, like he just gets like bumped, like he like falls down. Like I don't get it. Like watching this film is just so disappointing. And but like, I mean, yeah, last year was his year, right? Like Rice was hurt. He was going to take like a next step. First game looked
Yeah.
okay and then just got hit, knocked out, never came back
Right.
normal.
Right.
I mean, could he do better than he did last year, playing 12 games with 500 yards? Probably, but like, yeah, I'm selling him. I'm trying to sell him. If anybody wants to give me like a 27 second, I'm jump all over that, but
Yeah.
yeah, right now, man, he's a toy. To me, he's just hooked, hooked. Sad. Because again, he was a
Yeah.
first round receiver, right? They took him in the first round. What's going on with them?
Yeah. Yeah. They took him. Where are they? Very high. I want to say they took him. Yeah. 28. So yeah. First rounder. Also, he's a buck 65, and that's what they
Yeah.
list him at. So what does he really weigh? Like a buck 60? Like
Yeah,
that's too. You're not. It's too frail. Like you can't play in the NFL that light unless nobody's ever hitting you, and he gets hit too much to be a buck 65.
sure. I mean, I don't know
So
how much J-Mo weighs, but he can't be that far off. But he just
180.
180. Okay, I mean, 15 pounds of muscle, especially, is going to be
Yeah.
important. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This
Yeah. I
guy.
mean,
Yeah.
like you're saying, Worthy just looks skinny, right? This dude just looks like a
Yeah. He
twig. So
plays
it's just
skinny. He just plays skinny. Some
yeah,
some
play
skinny
skinny.
dudes they play a little heavier, but he just plays skinny. Cannot take a hit. He
Yeah.
just depends
So
too
I
much
think
on the
we're both
speed. Yeah. But yeah, we're both on the same
right,
page. There.
which is fine. As like a gadget guy, then sure, like a guy who's not going to get hit a lot, but that's like for fantasy minimal value, right? It's going to be like a kind of nobody. All
Yeah.
right. So let's play a game to end it. Let's come up with the consensus rankings of our guys. So we have Ladd, BTJ, Rome, Harrison, Nabers, Pearsall, Worthy. So we're both going to say Nabers number one, right?
Yeah.
Like off the. Okay. So Nabers one. Who's our two? Rome.
I like Rome as mine too here. I don't know about you.
Okay. I'm going to take, yeah. I think Rome and Ladd and Harrison are all kind of like lumped together in the dynasty. So I'm going to agree with you. I'll take Rome for the upside. Who's our three? Harrison or Ladd? Or
I'll take
BTJ,
Ladd.
I guess.
Yeah, BTJ. I like Ladd.
Ladd.
Yeah, I just like I said, I like his bounce back spot. They're not gonna if Allen, which is doesn't look like he'll be coming back. And like I said, I like McDaniels, man. O line's healthy, protect Herbert. I like him.
Yeah, okay. I think like Ladd and Harrison are so close. So let's say
They are.
Ladd, then Harrison would be next. And then what do we have? Pearsall or BTJ? That's a tricky one, right?
That is a tricky one. That is a tricky one. I just like one is like coming into like an empty room, one's coming into like a really, really loaded room right now. It gets crowded room. And you know, I would take this. It's tough. I'd probably take the swing on Pearsall just because
Yeah.
I mean the dude when he plays he produces. You know what I mean? I just let BTJ
It's
play
crazy how
almost every game.
low,
Yeah, I know.
right? How low BTJ fell from going like a super high value franchise guy, dynasty guy to being like in the Pearsall
Right.
conversation,
But you
right?
got to
It's like
understand
very
that
fast.
but they gave him every opportunity last year. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
gave him every opportunity. He was fed targets. He just didn't
Yeah. He just
produce and
stopped.
and then they just gave up and they brought in Jacoby Myers. Parker Washington took a step up. Even Travis
Yeah.
Hunter was
Blew up.
going ahead of him while playing defense and offense. It's just so
Yeah.
many odd
Correct.
things that the coaching staff did that just makes you think
Yeah.
something was off with him.
Yeah. They maybe hate him or he's dumb or he's not running the routes or Lawrence doesn't trust him. Like I agree. So I'm going to say I'm in a dynasty. I'm going to still take BTJ over Pearsall, but it's rapidly, the distance is shrinking. So we'll say we're split on that. And then Worthy obviously is like a throwaway last
Yeah.
guy, right? That's
I,
like
I can't I
he's
can't believe
the least
BTJ is
valuable.
like right above Worthy for me. That's so sad.
Yeah, right. It's just a mighty have fallen. So like you're saying, he can have a beast year this year and he's back right where he started, right? As like a
Sure.
top 10 guy. It's just
Absolutely.
like that's kind of the magic of these.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah.
right. So then, yeah, no. So that's our list. Like we're saying, why don't you play around with some of these franchise values yourself? Leave some comments. I think about our rankings. Also, that kind of interesting strategy that Alex decided. Like, would you like to scoop all these guys up and see what happens? It's kind of an interesting one. So thanks for joining us on our bonus episode. We will catch you guys in about a week. We'll start talking about the draft, all that fun stuff. Hopefully, Sam will be back from being super dead. And we will see you guys all later. Have a good one.
Peace.